to today's new family orientation session. Before we begin, we have a few important housekeeping notes to cover.
La traducción al español para esta sesión es proporcionada por Wordly, una herramienta de traducción en tiempo real. Para acceder a este contenido en español, haga clic en el icono del globo en la barra de herramientas del lado derecho de la pantalla y seleccione Español en la lista de opciones de traducción.
Today's session is being recorded. Recordings will be available approximately 3 hours after the session ends. You can find session recordings in your session schedule or in the on-demand page of the Hub. To ask questions during this session, click on the Q&A button in the panel to the right of your screen. We'll answer as many questions as we can, either during the session or at the end. You can submit questions anonymously. Please don't share any personal information in questions, as questions will be visible to all guests. If you see a question in the Q&A panel that you want to see answered, upvote it to let our team know. Lastly, we ask that you please join us in upholding and promoting UC San Diego's principles of community, and in keeping our community free from any and all forms of discrimination and harassment. Now let's get started with today's new family orientation session.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. Parents, incoming students, we're really excited to be here with you. So I've got a presentation today, Money Concepts for Young Adults, but we should start with a poll. And it'd be really cool if you guys could all answer that. And then I'm going to have Megan, my colleague, kind of share the results. This question's kind of surprising sometimes. And then while Megan's getting those results, I'm going to go ahead and put my name up here and my email. Go ahead and write that email down. So if we don't have time to get to your specific question at the end of the presentation, you can go ahead and just shoot me an email and I'd be happy to discuss your question with you. And at the end, I'm going to leave some time for Q&A. So my name is Coley. I work at University Credit Union inside of the Price Center location. And so we've got ATMs all over campus. We have our Price Center location, as well as the community involvement that we do. We do financial wellness in person, virtually. So you're probably going to see me at some point. If you join a student organization, many of the student orgs have their accounts with us here at University Credit Union. And then Megan, do you have any of those preliminary results?
Coley, real quick, just an FYI, I think we're not seeing your presentation mode of the slides. We're seeing the PowerPoint. So if you want to go into presentation mode so your slides will be bigger for folks, that would be awesome.
Oh, sorry, everybody. Hold on one second. So just go to presenter mode?
Yeah.
Oops. How's that?
We're still seeing just the PowerPoint. So you can also, on your PowerPoint window, go ahead and click the From Beginning button on the top right there. Top left, sorry.
Okay.
You see where it says From Beginning on your toolbar?
No.
Sorry, folks. Bear with us.
Sorry about that, you guys. Okay, let me try to get out of here. Right here, From Beginning.
Yeah, go ahead and try that.
Okay. What do you see?
We're still seeing your PowerPoint window.
Interesting.
Bear with us. Technical difficulties, folks.
Yeah, sorry.
Chloe, it might be that you need to share a different window. So if you want to try resharing your screen, you can do that too.
Yeah, let's try that. Okay, so all right, let me get in here and I'll request again. But now I can see the results there. So 86% of people have not taken financial wellness, which is the surprising part. All right, let me get in here. Okay, I went ahead and requested. Okay, I'm going to try this again. You guys let me know what you see.
That looks good. So go
Fantastic.
you're going to have to actually hit the share button, but then it should be good to go.
All right.
Okay, you're all set.
Perfect. Okay, back on track, everybody. Sorry about that. So that poll question was really meant to illustrate how, you know, a lot of students come in and they really haven't had any formal financial wellness, you know, classes or training. And so that's why we're here. So University Credit Union joined up with UC San Diego after having been on other college campuses for over 70 years. We started on UCLA's campus and we came to UC San Diego about 3 years ago. So everything is going really well. We have our official Triton card, as you guys can see down here. A tip for you guys for banking on campus is that there are actually no commercial ATM machines. So there's no Chase or Wells Fargo. It's only credit union machines. Now, credit unions are cooperative, and so they are usually part of a co-op network, meaning if you're taking your credit union with you to campus and it's not University Credit Union, most likely you're still going to be able to get cash out of the ATM machine at no charge and make deposits. So we're proud to, you know, sponsor things like this and financial wellness. It's just about half of what we do here. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with credit unions, they are not for profit. So all of our, you know, earnings go right back to our members. So we generally have lower fees. And so, you know, there's no minimum balance requirement at University Credit Union. There are no, you know, requirements for direct deposit. None of that stuff exists here. And so we have better rates most of the time on loans. So they'd be lower. And then generally speaking, we have higher rates on all of our savings products. So we're excited to kind of share those with you guys as students. Also, your families are eligible for membership through you once you join. And a lot of parents like to join for ease of transfer. So they can put some money in their account, do a member-to-member transfer online when it's time to fund their students. So at the end, I will put up, again, a link for you guys to go ahead and make an appointment. It's a QR code you can scan, or you can email me. We're always here to help, and we will do one-on-one personal, you know, connections with you guys virtually or in person, and you do not have to be a member, and it can be on any subject. We are, most of us here at University Credit Union are certified credit union financial counselors. So again, you know, your families are eligible, students are eligible, as well as employees, retirees, faculty, and alumni. So we really do serve the entire university community. And that brings a full service financial institution to you guys here on campus. We don't have conflicts of interest. You know, we're consultative, needs-based. And so we'd like to get students in for their consultation in the beginning of the year, and then they can make subsequent appointments. We'll make sure that they're on track and that they don't have any other financial questions as they go on through the years. So I wanted to touch on just some, you know, basic financial wellness concepts. However, we've tailored that to the college student. So like I said, if you have any questions about this information, go ahead and send me an email at the email I provided at the beginning. Go ahead and schedule an appointment or put a question in the Q&A for Megan, and we'll make sure to go ahead and hit those at the end. So I want to talk about effective budgeting techniques and then methods of tracking your expenses. We're also going to take a look at savings planning and AI as a financial tool. I really like that one because a lot of my students like to play around with AI and try to figure out their future salaries and different things like that, but it can help in the near term as well. And so the budgeting methods that we most commonly recommend to our students and adults, for, you know, their parents for that matter, I use the 50-30-20 rule personally, but I'm also going to talk about this zero balance based budget. So the zero balance based budget method means every dollar is assigned a purpose. And so the goal is to know what your income is, know what your expenses are, get them to be as uniform as possible, and then give everything a category with a budget amount. So in this example, we've got a student who's working on campus. They're making $1,200 a month, and that's going to be after taxes and their take-home pay. And so their rent is $500, groceries are $200. Some people like to know the percentages that they're spending. For the zero based budget method, you don't necessarily need to do that. However, the 50-30-20 rule does focus on those macro percentages. So the idea is that 50% of your income goes to your essential expenses. So rent, groceries, even transportation, health insurance, if you have that, and any minimum debt payments. So if you already have, some loans that you're paying off, maybe you used your credit card to get some essentials for college, those minimum payments are factored into that 50%. Now, I want to skip down to the 20% because I really like the middle portion, but 20% is the goal for savings in the 50-30-20 rule. Now, I know some students who think that it's not even possible to save money in college, but I'm hoping to dispel that for you today and to make it easy to come up with a plan if you don't already. But 20% ideally will go towards your savings account. And then 30%, once your bills are paid and your savings is full, are for wants. And so we're huge here at University Credit Union on being able to enjoy your money responsibly and not feeling guilty for it or feeling like you're going over budget. So just with a simple few steps, we can, alleviate any of that buyer's remorse or anxiety about spending, when you're in school. And we also have tools available to you. So on our website, I'm also going to show you guys some examples of actual budget spreadsheets that we use here. And if you email me or put your email in the Q&A section, we can go ahead and send you those for use. Now, AI as a personal finance tool, I really like this because AI can figure out what state and local taxes are pretty accurately. You still want to check AI, of course. We've all heard the stories about AI being wrong. Famously, this author put a list of books for summer reading on the internet, and some of the books weren't even real books. So just take it with a grain of salt, but it does help. So here I've put, please construct a 50-30-20 budget outlined for a college student working part-time, making $1,000 a month before taxes. I put in San Diego County. And as you'll see here through all of this information, I know it's a lot, is that the AI bot has assumed about 10% in taxes. So the take-home pay would then be $900 a month, and it balances out by percentage, and then also tells you what you should ideally be spending on all of those three categories. And then it also will give you some tips. So I love punching in different prompts to AI. What are some tips for lowering my cell phone bill? What are some tips for lowering my housing cost? And mention that you're in college, and it could give you some really tailored advice. I know some people are not quite sure how to use AI or what it's for, or they maybe don't see the value in it. But here, this is really a good example of how you can have some fun with it and do some calculations. Now, the tracking expenses part. So this is really to illustrate to you that it doesn't matter how you do your budget. You could do a spreadsheet. I have a spreadsheet I made when I was 18 myself, and I still use that. Some people like to write things down, so they could have a budget journal or a whiteboard even in their dorm room, and then an online budget form. So there are lots of tools that are available now out there for you. And some of those are online budget forms, and they're just nice to plug your information into to help you figure out where you stand. And this is the example of that college budget I was talking about. So this one happens to break down your expenses by semester as well as monthly. And so this is really nice if you've got tuition payments, lab, fees and books and things like that. And it helps you decide how much you need to save every month in order to hit that goal. So I like this one because it's really simple. Your expenses are not going to be many or great. And so this is just a really nice way to visualize where you stand financially. And like I said, I do have this to share if you guys want to drop your email in the Q&A comments or get a hold of us after the workshop. And this one is going to be the more complicated. So this tool that we have for you guys will break things down by month, and it's way more in detail. It's going to be for those who really want to track all of their expenses to see what the trends are. And so we really like this one. It does take a little bit of discipline to go ahead and use this, but we figure after about 3 months of tracking your expenses, you should have a pretty good idea about where you stand. Okay, so back to my question. Can you save money while you are attending school? Yes, you can, with some careful planning. We'd like to talk about the different savings sections. So we're going to save for the next 1 to 2 years. Those are your short-term goals. We're going to save for the next 2 to 5 years. That's going to be your medium term. And then your long-term goals are more than 5 years. So for many of you, that's going to be college ending and beyond. Some of you are going to go to grad school. So just knowing what your goals are as you figure some of those out about yourself as you progress through the year. And then the number one goal here before anything else is to establish an emergency savings account. So if that's, all you think you can accomplish in the next 1 to 2 years, that is definitely a good start. And so you're going to find out what your expenses are, and you're going to multiply that by 3. And that's going to be what you'd need to pay for all of your expenses in the event that you lost your income or something were to happen. That's going to make you feel so much better about where you stand financially. It's also going to give you just a safety buffer. And it's probably going to encourage you to save even more, to be honest. Once I got my, first emergency savings benchmark hit and I was aiming for 1 month of expenses, I was so excited and I just wanted to keep building that up. Now, to accomplish the savings, some of you will work, some of you will not work, some of you do have income in the form of allowance from, your parents or other people who may be supporting you. Some of you guys may be getting a stipend or an excess financial aid payment for living expenses. So no matter what the case, you can have things like multiple accounts where you say, okay, I want to do this for vacation for spring break, and I want to save this much for when I have to start paying back my student loans. If you are working or you have access to direct deposit, one of my tips is that you have direct deposit go immediately into your savings, and then you only remove the excess of 20% and what you need for your bills. You can also have multiple checking accounts, which I'll talk about later. That would just help you balance your bills and that money, and also the 30% for fun money. So it depends on how complicated you want to get things. Some people like doing multiple accounts. Some people are just really disciplined and they don't see the need for it. But then create a budget, like I said, to save up for those major purchases as well. So you're thinking about your midterm vacation, your long-term student loans, your short-term, gift for your girlfriend or whatever the case may be. And then for those of you who don't have experience with banking or maybe don't have your own bank account, we do have kind of an order of operations that would serve you the best. Now, most institutions have checking and savings accounts. So checking is a must for your bills. You're going to pay your bills. You're going to use your debit card for purchases, for restaurants, things like that. And then the savings account is going to be where you keep your emergency funds and or short-term savings. And so if you want to separate those two into 2 different savings accounts, you can definitely do that. I keep all of mine in one savings account because I have a high yield savings account with University Credit Union. And I like to keep it in there as long as possible because it earns 3.5%, annual percentage yield. So we're going to talk about things like that a little bit later. But if you're going to have your money in an account, you should make sure that you're earning interest. The checking accounts at any institutions usually don't have interest, so they don't pay you anything. They just have a 0%. But at University Credit Union, for example, if you have your direct deposit going into your account for an aggregate of $1,000 per month or more, then your checking account is going to earn you 3% interest, which is just one of the examples of the ways that we like to give you guys some extra benefits for being part of the university community. And then above and beyond this, you may remember your parents having a CD for you is what they're most commonly known, but certificates of deposit. And what that's going to look like is you're going to give the credit union or the bank that you're at a certain amount of money, so $1,000, let's say, and then they're also going to agree to give you, say, 5% back. And so as long as you leave that money in there for the 12 months or the 14 months or however long that contract term is for, they're going to give you that set amount. This is going to be great for people who have their emergency savings, but maybe you're saving to move out and you know that it's going to be 2 years, basically exactly. You're going to go ahead and put away money for your deposit or living expenses, and you're just going to put that in a CD to earn interest while you don't have to access it. And so, again, at University Credit Union, we pay interest, on our checking and savings, and we have great CD rates. And remember, parents, you guys are eligible too, or guardians, through the student. So now I want to talk about some important terminology, because all banks and credit unions are required to quote rates on an annual term. So you're going to see APY, which is at the bottom here, the bottom left, and that's just the interest rate that reflects the total amount of interest that you're going to earn on an account over the period of 1 year. So this calculation is still used even if it's not a year-long certificate of deposit, for example. So it's going to assume that you're going to have that money in there for a full year, but you will have to subtract the interest. Say that it's a 9-month CD, so you'll have to subtract a little bit to figure out the actual calculation, and ask them for a calculation. I love sitting at the hub. Students come in on their lunch break and we just do fun calculations on how much they could earn on a CD. So we love that stuff. So do reach out. And then a fixed rate of return would be like that certificate of deposit. So you give us your money for this long, we're going to give you this return on investment. That's going to be a fixed rate, meaning it's not going to fluctuate up or down. You know exactly what that's going to be for the full term. Now, a variable rate of return is going to be something more like a savings account. So savings accounts are liquid accounts with no contract, no reason you need to keep that in there if you need it. And so that rate will fluctuate. You may hear about the Fed rate on TV or in the news. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's basically the interest rate that banks can borrow money from the government. And so if that changes up or down, usually across the financial industry, rates can either go down or they can go up. Now, rates are right now trending down. And so it's important to look at your statements every once in a while to make sure you know what interest rate you're earning. Right now, our savings rate here, the high yield savings, is paying 3.5%, which is really, really great. But it can change over time, just like anywhere else. And then compounding interest. So compound interest is the secret millionaire maker. That's what people say. So basically, the interest that you earn, say on your high yield savings account, then also earns interest. And so over time, you're earning, this incredible interest rate on money that you didn't even put in there. It just has been earned through interest payouts. And so if you leave an account to grow and keep adding money to it, it really, really starts to take off. And then you can see kind of the fruits of your labor there. So always make sure that you're in an account that does compounding interest. Now, a lot of students ask me this, a lot of parents come talk to me about this, because we do all have access now to, platforms like Robinhood or Acorn. There are different trading platforms that you can get in and invest a very small amount. And so what I want to do is just kind of talk about responsible investing. Now, responsible investing means that you know your options. And so I've put some of the most common options here. I know that this is a lot of information, like was mentioned before. This is going to be available for you to rewatch. And also you can make an appointment with me and we can have a deeper conversation about it in your specific, scenario. So index funds and EFTs are going to be common, words that you're going to hear. And those funds allow you to invest in a broad range of stocks and bonds. Now, stocks making up an index fund or ETF, exchange traded fund, is going to be made of individual stocks. But when you invest in a stock, say Tesla, and that stock either gains or loses value, you can see a big swing in your funds. Now, we've all seen, GameStop millionaires and these stories about people who invested in one specific stock generate incredible wealth. I just want to make sure that you realize that that is not most people's experience. And though it does seem exciting, it does take a little bit of self-control. So index funds, ETFs, those broaden your exposure, right? So then you're diversifying, which is another word that people like to use in the banking industry. And then robo-advisors. So this is a managed account, but it's not managed by people. It's managed by algorithms and data feeds. And so the robo-advisors then go ahead and make trades that would, affect the portfolio that you have. Individual stocks, like I mentioned, those are what's used to make up index funds and exchange traded funds. So it's just a basket of stocks, not just an individual stock, which, spreads out your risk, basically. And then cryptocurrency. I always have to touch on cryptocurrency. There's a lot of talk about it right now, becoming regulated. It's not very regulated right now. It is very volatile. Volatile, and I just want to make sure that you know that it may not be right for you. Only invest what you can afford to lose, and that's why I like to see the following before you consider investing. So before you invest, you want to make sure you don't have any high interest debt. So if you've got a credit card that's at 25%, that's not the average of what the stock market pays, in a year. So you want to go ahead and make sure you're not paying high interest. Because if you're investing it, you may actually be canceling out any returns you get. So that's kind of the first step of evaluating. And then building an emergency fund. So that is what I will say over and over again. You're probably tired of hearing me say it, but if you have that emergency fund, then that's your platform to start basing your other financial decisions on. And then we've already talked about the budget, right? So this is specifically talking about your investment budget, right? So say that part of your 30% is not getting used. You decide you're underspending by $200 per month. Maybe you're like, I have my savings and my emergency savings built up. Maybe I'll put some of these into investments. Realize that investments are meant to be long-term. So I'm not a tax advisor. I'm not an investment advisor. It's important to talk to a professional. But generally speaking, if you earn interest, you may have to pay taxes on it, especially if you take it out early, or than 2 years, or, how long you keep it in there. So it's definitely something you want to inform yourself about and find some resources on. And we do have a lot of resources on our website. People close to you may have a tax advisor. Now that you're 18, you may have to start filing taxes. So it's just a good thing to watch out for. And then consider your retirement. And I know that sounds so far off for so many of you. You guys are, young adults just starting freshman year in college. It's very exciting. Talk to your friends, talk to your parents, talk to your the adults in your life, and just see, what their take is on it. What are they saving for retirement, or what vehicle are they using? So before you have a job, you can save for retirement. So even if it's just little bits at a time, that compound interest really builds up, and you're going to set yourself up for a great retirement in the future. So all of this requires balance, and that's why we offer things to you like financial consultations, so we can help you kind of make these decisions. And then starting small. Don't be afraid to start small. I've got some tips coming up. You may not see it grow as fast as you want to, or you may see this story on the news, like I said, of somebody becoming a crypto millionaire. But just, keep yourself grounded and have realistic expectations. Okay, so my words to the wise. These are over my umpteen years in banking. Trying to buy low and sell high is risky. So that's what we were talking about with those individual stocks and trying to beat the market. So you actually invest regularly over a long term, and that is what actually makes your money grow. So the earlier you start saving, the better, and that counts for market investing or just your savings account. So save and splurge at the same time. So it's okay to enjoy your money, and that 50-30-20 rule that I mentioned before, I use that. I don't feel guilty about what I spend my money on, as long as everything else is on track. And of course, I try to keep myself honest. So if I would like to not eat out every night, to save money and spend my 30% elsewhere, like a vacation, then, those are small adjustments that you can make over time. And then focus on your big costs first. So when you are figuring out your budget, you're going to focus on your housing and your transportation, your insurance, then your groceries, all the way down to your cheapest expense. So that's going to help you really cut costs as long as you're always paying attention as an informed consumer and you are making sure you're getting, you know, the best apartment price out there and the best deal on your car out there and have a great interest rate on any loans. And we're still here for you to kind of decide, you know, how you can make those small changes. And then maintain a strong cash position. This is just another way for me to tell you to have your emergency savings. Yes, once again, but really having your cash on hand in case there's an emergency, there's no better feeling. It's a financial shock absorber is what I have down there is kind of my compelling argument. So if you take anything away from this today, just remember you can save in college and it will set you up for success in the future. Now, cash flow as a saving strategy, that is more about, you know, not being cash poor. So it's not just about stashing your money away. It's about, you know, consistently spending less than you earn, trying to beat that 30% or increase that 20% savings. So you got to make it a game for yourself, you know, month over month, am I getting better? What's my average savings? And you can always make adjustments. And then the lottery mindset is just another way for me to remind you that you probably will not be a crypto millionaire, but we have seen those stories so much in the news and so much recently that it's just a reminder to, you know, stay humble, stay the course, just, you know, make sure that you're starting with small steps and it'll be fine. It'll work out. And I hope you do make a ton of money in interest or have some huge windfall in your future. And then this is very important too. So you guys are just stepping out into the world, gaining your independence. You may have heard stories from friends or your parents or adults in your life, the news, that, you know, they destroyed their credit right away, right out of the gate, or they didn't save. And by the end of college, they had to get a job and they didn't get a job right away. So just remember that more money will not fix bad habits. So as you get more money, if you haven't learned that foundation and learned to be strict with yourself and be regimented, have self-control, then that's probably going to be an issue for you going forward. And that's not something that's fun. You know, we deal with people all the time on consolidation loans and trying to get them out of the situation that they're in, improve their credit, which we are going to talk about in just a little bit. And then, like I said here, earning interest on your interest, so compounding interest. Most products and services out there in the banking world will be compound, but it's a great question to ask. So if you decide you want to get into a certificate of deposit, ask them, is my interest compounding? And that's just going to earn you more money over the long run. Now, speaking of credit, we're going to talk about the importance of credit, the score components, so what goes into the credit score, and then credit monitoring and some different tools and strategies we have to make sure that you know where your credit stands at all times. All right, so this little wheel on the side, you may be familiar with this already, but I like to illustrate what is considered a good credit score. You know, sometimes you hear 720 is very good, and, you know, 780 is excellent. Now, this is the FICO scoring model. Now, even if you haven't seen that little wheel before, you may have heard of FICO. So a FICO score is basically like your grade on your credit. So it's 3 digits. It's calculated from the data on your credit report. There are 3 major credit agencies that help build up this score, and it's Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. And so your FICO score predicts how likely you are to pay back a loan. And then banks and lenders use that FICO score to determine what rate you're going to get, you know, if you're eligible for certain terms. And so the better your credit score quite literally leads to savings on your loans and, you know, all kinds of things. Even when you're shopping for an apartment, they're going to check your credit, and, you know, a good credit score looks favorable. We're here to help you start building your credit. Without a credit card, we have a very different approach. And so I encourage all of you to make an appointment with us so we can, you know, get you started on that plan, because it really is neat to see our students leave school with a 780 credit score, and it just warms my heart. but goes into a credit score. So into a FICO score, you're going to see 35%. So a big chunk is going to be your payment history. So try never to have a late payment. It can stay on your credit report for up to 7 years is generally the advice there. And so really try your best. If you have a credit card already and you're not able to pay it off, do pay that minimum payment on time because we don't want that to affect your credit. Now, 30% is going to be the amount owed. So say that you have a $1,000 credit card, but you're using $400 of that available credit. There's a ratio there, and the percentage of available credit you have compared to the percentage of credit you're using on that credit line. And this is combined with all your credit lines. You know, the lower the better. And so you're going to want to make sure that you're staying under 30% utilization. And so that's just that ratio. Like I said, use 30% or less of your total credit allotment when you can, and that's going to help your score. Now, 15% is length of credit history. This is something we can't do anything about at your current age, but you can protect yourself from a credit score drop in the future. Say that you do get your first credit card and, it's been open for 5 years, but you decide you want to close it and get a different credit card. Closing that oldest trade line will actually shorten your average credit history. So it doesn't have anything to do with age. It has everything to do with how soon you've had credit on your account and then your responsibility in using that. 10% is going to be new credit. So if you're applying for lots of credit cards because you have been told that's a good way to build your credit, don't do that. We like to see 2 or less because those inquiries, those hard inquiries on your credit are going to stay on your credit report for about 7 years, or I'm sorry, for about 2 years before they start to drop off. And so that's just the general rule. Try not to have more than 2. If you do, because you're shopping around for a car, for a house, or something specific, lenders can see that. And so, always do what you can do to get the lowest rate, but just be mindful of how many times your credit is being checked. And then your credit mix. So, like I said, not a great idea to go out and start applying for credit cards everywhere to build your credit. 10% of your credit is made up of your credit mix. So eventually you're going to have your credit card, your overdraft protection line of credit, your auto loan, your home loan. So the more of a mix, it shows lenders that you are responsible and have shown a history of paying off all of the different loan types. This is not something I want you to rush out to try to improve on your credit. It will happen with time. So yeah. Now I did want to illustrate for you what that credit score looks like in dollars and cents. So we've got your FICO score over here on the left, and then we've got your interest rate. You can see that it gets higher and higher as the credit score gets lower and lower. Now your monthly payment will also be affected. As you can see, not, to a great extent, but what really matters is this total interest that you pay. So the column on the right-hand side goes from $1,952 to $9,213. Now that is a big jump, and we definitely don't want to see that. So, your options are to refinance after you build your credit higher. At University Credit Union, we will actually let you refinance the loan that you already have here. That is not something that usually happens out there in the banking world. And so we're able to offer that help to people who maybe started with a low credit score, but now it's been 2 years and they've really built that up. Let's redo that loan and get you a different rate. Okay, now some of the tools, this is from University Credit Union. We have this dashboard where you can check your credit score. We will give you your ratings on the different categories that make up your credit. And then we're also going to give you tips on what you can do to lower that. So this is a really, really powerful tool. Even if you don't look at it every day, you can make sure things are accurate. So do you actually have the 13 accounts that are listed at the lower left-hand side? Why are you 40 years old and your credit mix is 5 years on average? Let's see if, my credit card closed itself or something other happened to affect that. And so it's just a really great tool. So, credit reports over here, score simulator, credit score goals. And so it really, really does get in depth and help you build that credit. And then this is what it looks like over time. So we're looking at, you know, your payment history, the credit usage, and your score history with your credit score. And that's just really helpful to see, you know, what happened in this last 6 months. My credit score started low. What happened there? Let's make sure I don't do that again. And then, of course, you can set goals, get your credit action plan, and then have a financial checkup all at the same time. So please use that. This is an example of the categories, you know, grade A for this person, good job. Their payment history is great. They haven't had any late payments, and it goes over their credit usage. So they've got a Capital One card, a Chase card, and a Target card. And so it shows the percentage of utilization. So just to illustrate that, that point. And another thing that all reputable banks and credit unions will tell you is to visit annualcreditreport.com. And so these are mandated reports that are made available to you once per year for free. So I'm going to, pause here for a second, write this down, annualcreditreport.com. You're going to go in there, fill out the form. It's going to verify you by asking you specific questions. Have you ever lived at one of these addresses? Have you ever owned this type of car? And it gives you multiple choice to help identify you. And I like to use 3 throughout the year. So I like to do 1 for the new year, check, Experian, for example, make sure everything looks good. Then I'll do TransUnion, say around my birthday in the middle of the year. And then I will do another one near the end of the year. So however you want to do it, just make sure you know what your credit report is made of, and you're welcome to print this out or email it. Actually, don't email it, just print it out. We don't want things going over electronic communication like that, but make an appointment with me, make an appointment with any of the people that work in the hub with me and my team members, and we'd be happy to walk you through how to read your credit report. So that's just going to be a really valuable tool. And remember, you don't have to bank with us. So even if you just, want to come talk to us about a couple things, bring your credit report, we'd love it. Okay, so finally, I'm going to leave this page up for a moment. If you take a screenshot of that scan code there, it's going to bring you right to our calendar, and that way you can go ahead and schedule an appointment. Otherwise, our website is ucu.org. So UCU as in universitycreditunion.org. And from there, you can kind of poke around and, see what we have to offer. We do meet most of the new students that come in to get their account started and make sure they have their debit card that's going to allow them to take out cash on campus. And we love, doing financial wellness. So even if you're part of a club or an organization and you'd like to have me come out or another team member come out to do, a webinar on something else specific, we'll even build you a custom one. We just really love this part of our job. So with that, I will, request that this stays up for another moment. Then we can go ahead and take down the presentation and see if there are any questions in our Q&A.
Coley, we had a couple of questions. How do you become a member at University Credit Union?
Yeah, so we know you guys love technology. You can go to ucu.org and then click on, I believe it says join now or become a member at the top right-hand page, top right-hand corner of the page. Or you can come in, you can visit us. Our summer hours right now are 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. You can book a virtual appointment with us. We'd be happy to walk you through the application. And then during the school year, we're open from 9 to 4 in the Price Center, and you can just pop in then. But a lot of the students and their parents like to get this banking set up before the school year starts, and it's just one less thing that they have to do, to get yourself situated. All right, and we can go ahead and probably take this slide down, and I'll join the rest of you face to face.
Okay, I have another question for you, Coley.
Sure.
Would it be easy for a student to apply for the credit card by themselves, or would you recommend students have a co-signer when they apply for a credit card?
That's another great question. So students are able to apply for credit cards on their own. It does not require a co-signer. In fact, because we're a university credit union, and we only serve the University Credit Union, we have special underwriting criteria to help students along in their journey. One of those products and services is a secured card. And so that would be where you apply for your credit card. However, we give you, $500 or $1,500 balance. You put down that deposit and it reports to your credit just like a regular credit card that didn't have a deposit. If you have income coming in, parental support, even, we will accept that as proof of income and could possibly get you going with a non-secured credit card right away. We don't promote credit cards to students in that way, but when we meet and we decide that that's a good option for you, or if you do some research online and you want to go ahead and apply for that, I definitely encourage you. You can apply with a parent as well. So both ways. All right, Megan, what other questions do we have?
A lot of people had questions about budgeting and got a lot of emails for people who want that. But I did have a couple students ask if we are part of an organization or a club on campus, can we have an account?
Yes, yeah, you sure can. So I think San Diego is up to about 700 student organizations right now. I work really closely with the Center for Student Involvement to make sure that you guys have access to easy accounts. The application process is online. You need very few things. We do have a student organization landing page. So if you go to the search bar and type in student organization, you're going to go to the landing page that's going to explain how to apply. There is no minimum balance. The only requirement to keep that account free is to have e-statements. So just, e-statements and you're in the clear. And when you, want to change signers, we make that really easy for you. That process is actually also online. What else?
Okay, another one is, you said the summer hours, but what are you open during when fall quarter starts?
Yes, so in fall, we'll be gladly back to our 9 to 4. We're in the Price Center next to the Sunshine Market, which is pretty popular. There's an Indian restaurant, Burger King, Taco Bell, all kinds of fun stuff in there. So usually people will go eat lunch and then swing by and come see us. And yeah, we love our location there. So easy access.
We also have lots of fun events that we do in there.
Mm-hmm.
We always say, come back a couple of times. We're always doing something fun in there. Okay, someone asked, is the credit union covered by FDIC? That
is another fantastic question. So no, but we are covered by NCUA, which is the credit union version of FDIC. It is also government insured. So we have the same limits, up to $250,000 per individual for the most part. And then if you need to cover more than that, then that's when we have a conversation about how to make sure that your money is secure. But yes, we are government insured.
And a fun little fact, NCUA has never been accessed by any credit union ever, where FDIC has been. So yes, your money is safe with the credit union. That's all the questions I have, Coley. You answered them all.
All right. Well, I'll give it another few seconds if anybody else feels like they want to go ahead and ask a question. Remember, my email is, my name is Coley Curtis. So it's Curtis, CURTIS @ucu.org. Otherwise, you can go and schedule an appointment on our website. We're going to take down these email addresses for those of you who wanted me to share our budget worksheets. I'll share both, and then you guys can decide which one you want to use. It's a great exercise, especially while you're getting ready for school. And I hope to see you all, hopefully you'll become members and your families will become members. But if not, you still have access to us and I would love to meet you.
Do students need to be employed for a credit card, Coley?
So no, what's important there is that the income is reported. So we do accept paperwork for parental support. So say that you're getting, support from your family and they give you a certain amount of money every month. We basically just have them sign a letter to that effect, and we would consider that in the underwriting process.
And do you have to be a certain age?
You do have to be 18. Yes. Yeah. And to have your own account, you do need to be 18. So unfortunately, some students do have to wait until they turn 18 to open their account, unless they do want to open it with another person. So a family member, your legal guardian, a parent.
If I'm an international student, can I get an account at University Credit Union?
I'm so glad you brought that up because yes, we are a great resource in the international community here. We work with IPSO and IFSO and the international offices, because you do not need to have a social security number. As long as you have your passport and visa, it's very easy. We don't require any, I-20s or additional kind of paperwork or documents. So you're going to find that online application process extremely easy. Easier than most people think. And so we're really glad that we can offer that to the community. But of course, we're always there to work with you to help you apply if you're having any issues. But we welcome everybody.
Okay, so on the credit card, if a student opens one, can they have a parent as a secondary user, not a co-signer?
We can. You can have an authorized user, basically. So your parent could have access to the credit line. Just remember, that you're the one who's responsible for that credit card. And, any purchases anybody who you make are, ultimately your responsibility. But yes, you can give them a card.
Can a student stay with the credit union after graduation?
Yes, another great question. There's so much to cover that I feel like I forget important things like that all the time. But once you're a member, you're always a member. So you are eligible as students, your immediate family are eligible, alumni, faculty, staff, retirees. So anybody in the university community. And then you just have your account forever and ever. And we grow with you, right? So then we have mortgages and investment services. And as you grow, we grow with you. And there's no student account. So we all have the same account. The CEO has the same account that you do. So there's no worry about converting or aging out of a college account, which is another nice feature.
And someone asked, can they open one after graduation? Of course, they're alumni now.
Yes,
So
now you're alumni. And in fact, we've been at San Diego for a few years now, but some students didn't get word before they graduated, but we still reach out to them. We work with the Alumni Association, and they end up coming back around, as they're shopping for rates on savings or CDs, and are happy that they found us. So.
And another great part about being part of a credit union and the co-op is you can use any co-op ATM at no charge, which is great. There's over 30,000 across the United States, all over San Diego and the North County. So it's great. That's a wonderful benefit for a student.
Thank you, Megan. It definitely is. We can even walk into some branches for our co-op branching network. So if you're in Maryland for some reason, you may be able to find a branch there if you need to get a cashier's check or something else.
Someone asked, are you related to Blue Peak Credit Union, formerly Hughes Credit Union?
Yes, USC Credit Union and Blue Peak are separate credit unions. So we are the official financial partner of UC San Diego. But USC is another credit union. In fact, they have ATM machines on campus that you can use your UCU debit card at, and vice versa. So if you're bringing another credit union with you from home, where I grew up, it was Landmark Credit Union, you could use your debit card at the US or the Blue Peak ATMs or the University Credit Union ATMs. But we are specifically the preferred financial institution of the university. So, and just like all places, we offer different products and services. So.
At each credit union, we just have our different field of membership.
Mm-hmm.
But we're all friends in the credit union world, we like to say. Okay, someone asked, where can we find the CD rates and terms?
Yes, so that's all going to be on the website as well. If you're having issues finding those, and actually maybe I can pop this into the chat really quick while we're here. So I will look for that. And then Megan, is there any other question waiting while I do that?
No more questions.
Okay. Let's put our...
But what great questions you had there.
Yeah, they really did. I like when I know people are listening. Sometimes, financial wellness content can be a little dry. So we try to make it fun. It's very necessary, and you guys were definitely listening.
Okay, here's one more question. What if a student already has an account at another bank?
So that's okay. At the credit union, we understand that people may have had a banking relationship before they started here. Because we don't have any, I'm going to sneeze, sorry. Whew. Any minimum balance requirements. We are low maintenance, right? So a lot of students will say, okay, well, yeah, I have this account back home. My parents send me money through there. I'm going to link that account to my university credit union account online because there's no fee or any maintenance, and just, use this account, especially while I'm at school, because there would be free ATM access on campus. So there are different reasons to have more than one bank. Of course, we would like to be your primary credit union. We think everybody should have a credit union. We're all part of that movement, like Megan said, where we're all cooperative, even though we do have different products and services and member bases. We're all in it, for the same reason. So.
That's it, Coley. Those are the questions.
Well, thank you guys so much. I'm trying to figure out how to pop that.
It's just a Q&A. There actually isn't a chat.
I don't know if I can post in that, but at any rate, just visit our ucu.org, and then we're going to go ahead and get a hold of you guys about the worksheets for the budgets and email those out to you. And then you'll have our contact information. You can always go online, set up a virtual appointment. And we're just really excited to have you here and really excited to work with you this year. Parents, we're going to be the financial moms for your students, and you can feel safe leaving them in our hands. We love doing this, and so yeah, it's going to be a really great year.